Hello, and welcome to the Ask Me Almost Anything About the Awards show. I'm Blair from First, and it's my pleasure to be your host for another lively, informative show this season. Now, this is the second part of our judge series, following up on the first robotics competition judge show, which is now on the FRC YouTube channel. You can check that out too if you haven't already. Now, that show features interviews with judges and award-winning teams and students, and is filled with tips and tricks for your award submissions. Check it out. It's got a lot of good stuff in it. Now, joining me today to answer your questions live are two super experienced veteran judges. They've seen it all, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And today, we're offering them up to you to ask almost anything about the first robotics competition season awards. Now you can type your questions into the chat and we'll get them to our experts. So now it's time. Let's reveal our experts. Please welcome first Chief Judge Advisors, Cindy Stong and Alan Bancroft.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Blair.
Welcome. All right, let's do some introductions. Cindy, why don't we start with you? Can you please introduce yourself?
Sure. So Cindy Stong, as Blair said, I live in southern New Mexico. A little bit about my background. I have a mechanical engineering degree from Seattle University, an MBA, and then a program management certificate. I worked at the Boeing company for 30 years. Great company to work for. I retired and now I live in southern New Mexico. And then judging, I've been judging since 2003, mostly FRC, but a little bit of FTC and FLL as well. And then moved on to being a judge advisor, and then now working with Alan as chief judge advisor.
Before we get to Alan, can you just define what the chief judge advisors do? What's that role?
Sure. So basically, we write the manual and update it every year. We teach judge advisors. We do training every year because things morph and change. We do improvements. And then during the season, we make improvements, answer questions during the season, basically on call 24/7. You know how that is, Blair.
So you both sort of oversee all of the judges, which is very, the judge advisors and the judges. All right, now let's get, Alan's been very patient, which is not his strong suit. So Alan Bancroft, why don't you introduce yourself?
Oh, thank you, Blair. So my name is Alan Bancroft. I am the co-chief judge with Cindy. We've been doing this probably as the co-chief judging role for, 10 years. I think we've lost track. So very honored to be here. Really glad all of you are calling in today. I work at a company called RE2 Robotics. I'm based out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Been in robotics for over 35 years, so very, very exciting. That's why we love to hear your guys' stories about what you're doing. And been involved with First for over 21 years. Did a lot of work with the Lego and FTC. My son co-founded Team 6334 Illuminati Robotics back a few years ago. That team is still going strong, so we're excited about that. But yeah, just very excited to be here. And as far as technical background, I'm an electrical engineer by training. Went to Notre Dame, received my MBA, and just very excited about hearing your stories. So yeah, over to you, Blair.
All right. Thanks for being here, Cindy and Alan. I know we're going to have a lot of great questions, but before we get to them, let's remind everyone of the submission deadlines for the awards. Now, as you can see, the deadlines vary among the awards. And remember that you can also find all this information in the game manual. We'll leave this slide up for a second so you can just take a peek. All right. And now let's move on to our live Q&A. Let's get some questions going. The first question is about the Chairman's Award. Cindy, what makes a chairman's essay memorable?
First off, thanks, Blair. And Chairman's is my favorite award to judge, actually. You hear the best stories. And so my advice about Chairman's Award, making it memorable, when the students discuss, when they're doing the interviews with the judges, just show your passion, tell stories from your heart, and describe your impact. And you will catch the judge's attention and you will be memorable.
Maybe I can add to that a little bit, Blair. One thing I'd like to also say, the Chairman's Award is we want to hear all the different stories. A lot of the teams that are submitting have had teams for multiple years. It's really important that, the judges hear, what have you done the last couple of years? Like, what have you done lately? We want to make sure that the teams aren't living on the laurels from 10 years earlier. So the judges are going to be looking for, certainly the history for sure, but absolutely make sure you make a point to let the team, let the judges know what you've done recently. So just wanted to add that.
Okay, our next question relates to that. Is the chairman's essay and presentation supposed to be focused on the last 3 years?
Do you want to keep going, Alan?
Yeah, sure. I would say it doesn't need to focus on the last 3 years, but yes, the judges will be looking for that information. It really is probably the segue into what I said a minute ago is, we're not looking at, how, teams, there's students coming in every year, right, that are new. They're going to be contributing to the total growth of the organization. So it's important that we hear what's happened lately, as well as what it took to get to this point in the first place.
And let me add the two. So you can talk about projects that as a team, you started a while ago, but focus on describing what the recent improvements have been, how you've made it sustainable. So to Alan's point, focus on what's recent, even though it's something you started a while ago.
All right, great. Our next question, are we allowed to present our screens with a Google Slides presentation during the interview?
Yep, you can share your screens. In your manual, there's items described that you need to submit, and then there's also auxiliary things that you can show to help the judges out. So yes, you can share your screens.
Okay. Our next question is about the Dean's List. Is it worth using characters to talk about volunteering outside of FIRST, such as creating a nonprofit? Is it worth using characters to talk about volunteering outside of FIRST, such as creating a nonprofit?
Maybe I'll take a stab at that. I mean, I don't know what they mean by characters per se, but I think it's important to recognize the judges absolutely want to hear your story. You've done very special things. Your mentors and your peers and your team have nominated you for this award. So it's absolutely important to make sure, one, what has been submitted on your behalf. Be aware of that submission. Maybe they'll tell you after we submit, hey, we submitted you for the Dean's List Award. Oh, then you should be going back and saying, what did you say about me? Be prepared, because the judges have only read that information. You should be expounding upon that information or making sure you have new information as well, because the judges are going to be reading that and they're going to be compiling their questions based off what they read. So, I don't know what the question means by character per se, but absolutely, you're going to want to make sure you're sharing with the judges what you have done on that team to basically be nominated. Cindy, anything to add to that?
Well, yeah, and I think they asked about an outside nonprofit. You can talk about work that your team has done in general, but also bring it back to what your part of that effort was and describe how you interacted with that effort and what you did to contribute to that, because the judges are learning about you.
Oh yeah, that's great. And Cindy, maybe just one more follow-up on my side. This is really a good time in your life to use the word I, right? A lot of people are just, we as a team, we as a team, we as a team. But this is really the time, and I say this during interviews as well with students and in my professional career. Now is the time where you can say, I did this, and the judges are going to absolutely, want to hear that. They know you're part of a team, but this is really the time where the light is shining on you, and the judges need to know, what did you do that is going to separate you from all the other Dean's List candidates that are being interviewed from around the world, depending on what level we're at. So, please just keep that in mind. And sometimes you have to practice that, because a lot of you I know are just not comfortable talking about I. So, but if this is a time we're actually wanting to hear that I did this, that, and the other thing.
I think it's probably true that most of the Dean's List nominees are modest. Somebody has nominated them, and you're right. Practicing that, like speaking about yourself and being proud of what you did, is probably a huge part of the interview process and preparation. So that's good stuff. All right, our next question is about the FIRST Innovation Challenge. Is it the only award that offers a rookie-only award? So the first innovation challenge, will it offer a rookie only award?
The first innovation challenge, well, that one's judged a little bit different than our traditional way we judge with rookie awards. So that one's has its own set of criteria that's in your manual, and it's judged by a set of judges. I don't think there's a rookie award per se. Now the other awards do have some rookie awards that we're giving out. Let me see. So Infinite Recharge at Home, we have a rookie award. And game design, we have a rookie award. So be sure and submit for those.
All right. Our next question. This is a very interesting question. Will there be overlap in judges for some challenges? For example, my team is thinking about having a theme in our chairman submission, game design challenge, and innovation challenge. That's pretty clever. Yeah. So will there be different judges, or will the judges overlap?
I'll take a stab at that. Yeah, I would say there will be overlap in judges for some challenges. For example, my team is thinking about having a theme in our chairman submission, game design challenge and innovation challenge. So yes, there is a possibility that there is going to be overlap with the judges.
Well, and the likelihood, I don't know the likelihood. It depends on. I think they're looking to see if judges might see that theme in the different submissions. And the odds are probably not in your favor, but it helps the team prepare probably if there's a common theme. So I think it's a good idea too.
Yeah, I mean, it's we talked about this in the game design show of like a theme helps tell your story and gives all the team, our game design team, something to rally around. You always can go back to theme, and that'll help drive your decisions. So even if different judges are adjudicating. Okay, for another question here. Should we focus on one award in particular or all of them when doing the presentation for the at-home challenges? Focus on one award in particular or all of them when doing the at-home challenges?
So the short answer is apply for all of them. I mean, you could apply for none or all. And I think Alan, to quote my friend Alan here, what fun would that be? Sorry. But you can do all. We are encouraging you to do as many as you want. It just helps the team have a theme or have a purpose for applying for all the awards. Alan?
Yeah, maybe I'll add to that. So, with the Infinite Recharge at Home, remember the best 3 within your group count towards the team's overall score. So judges don't see the challenge scores of the videos, but applying to all the challenges and presenting. I mean, this is really a year to get really super creative. Make sure your team is exposed to the judges, and these are great times for just to learn presentation skills. So don't be shy. Apply for them, even if you don't feel that's your strength. The judges will determine what they think the 3 strongest challenges are that you submitted, and that'll carry forward. But yeah, I would absolutely encourage you to apply to all of them, but only 3 will carry forward. Your 3 best will carry forward.
Cindy?
Yeah, hey Blair. There's also there's a handful of awards that we're giving out too. So it's different criteria for the different awards, and so if they present, then they can focus on maybe one of those awards, but still apply for as many as they can and want to.
Okay, our next question is also about Infinite Recharge at Home. For the Infinite Recharge at Home interviews, would you recommend having some kind of slide presentation to go along with what they're saying?
You can certainly have a slide presentation to go along with it. You can share what you want with the judges. And I have to say, though, that I have seen the gamut of presentations from very professional, very polished with handouts and slides to someone sitting in front of their computer sharing their story. So focus on what your team's done, your outreach, and the impact you made. That should be the focus.
Yeah, maybe I'll add, Cindy. The way to think about Infinite Recharge at Home with from that perspective is, in the traditional sense of judging, the judge would be going through the pitch and you'd be pointing and talking about your robot and the super cool things about it. Well, of course, the judges are not going to be able to see that right now. So you might want to have pictures of your robot. You might want to have, some other things that you're trying to get that same message to the judges that they can't be 3 inches from your robot with. So, we'd encourage you to, make sure that you're trying to get that same story portrayed to the judges while you're part of that interview.
Okay, great. Our next question is a general question. What webinar platform or platforms will be used for the interviews?
I know there's been a lot of discussion about that, and let me just see, I might have that answer here. 1 second.
I think it was announced yesterday to Teams in the team update.
I believe it's Microsoft Teams.
Yeah, I think it was just announced yesterday, so check in your team update.
That's exactly right. Teams. If you're not familiar with Teams, Google Teams. Yeah, I know there's been different platforms headquarters was looking at, and I'm very excited. I think there's a lot of flexibility with the Teams platform for those of you that have used it. There's a lot of capability in there. So just make sure, related to this, that we'll probably say this multiple times on this call, make sure you're testing your connections and the software we're going to be using, and making sure that your team all has the same information. If you're not in the same room having this presentation, make sure if one person's going to present this, make sure other people on your team have the same information in case their internet goes down or they have a computer crash. Make it as transparent and seamless that the judges wouldn't even know that you had a computer glitch and everything just went smoothly. So practice that. We all know, and it wouldn't surprise me if it doesn't happen on this call, that one of us is going to lose a connection or a dog might bark, which happened a little while ago. So, but be prepared for all the unexpected.
Yep, and the judges are going to practice too. So everyone's trying something new this time.
That's right. Be patient. Okay, our next question is about the traditionally submitted awards. Will they still be regionally judged, or will they be judged just like the other awards this year? So will the traditionally submitted awards still be regionally judged?
We set it up to be regionally judged for the traditional submitted awards, which are Chairman's, Dean's List, and Woody Flowers. There's a few tweaks to some of the regions where we had, maybe had to combine because of size of the region. So if you don't know, it's in your manual. You can take a look.
Okay, our next question is about the Game Design Award. Should we add imagery to our game design submission?
Oh, I'll add to that. Yeah, I think absolutely. The way to think about the Game Design Challenge is traditionally, headquarters would unveil a game, and you have theming, and you have elements, and you have we have the environment, you have the 3-on-3 robots. First of all, absolutely make sure you're checking the game manual for the specifics about the Game Design Challenge. But yeah, imagery, absolutely critical, right? You have to wear the lens of the spectator when you're designing your games. What is, going to really attract the attention of all the people watching these events around the world. So yeah, imagery is absolutely a very important part of this award. And in fact, there's also an imagery award in honor of Jack Heyman, which we've done for years. So, that's a very prestigious award, and you should be honored to win that. So in order to do that, you're going to have to, get that theming correct. Cindy, anything to add to that?
Nope, I was just going to say there is an imagery award, so you bet.
All right, our next question is general. For all the challenges this year, do you have a recommended slideshow length? How much time will we have to present our ideas?
So we tried to keep the timing as similar as possible to previous years. We have a lot of judges and judge advisors to train and make it easy for the team. So we're giving 12-minute slots for interviews. The only exception is Infinite Recharge at Home, which will be Innovation Challenge Award. So that's 15 minutes. So the rest are all 12 minutes with a 7-minute presentation time and then 5-minute Q&A.
Yep. And maybe just add one thing there, Cindy, on the Innovation Challenge, the timings broke down a little bit differently. To Cindy's point, it is a 15-minute time slots, so be aware of that. It's a different way. It's a different way even we've been thinking for the last couple months. But there'll be 2 minutes for a pitch, 3 minutes for the presentation, and 10 minutes for Q&A. So as you're practicing within your own teams on any one of these awards that you're presenting to, make sure you have that time slot right. So be prepared on that. And I think there's going to be some information coming out regarding translation that may be required as we're doing these interviews, and headquarters will be sending out some information on that if they haven't already. So just be on the lookout for that.
Okay,
And
great.
look in your manual to double check.
Our next question about the Chairman's Award, I believe. Can we share part of the Chairman's video during our presentation if we want to?
So the chairman's video is not required this year. You can make one and you can share it as part of your presentation. It just counts as part of your time.
Okay, this is also about the Chairman's Award. This is a big question.
Oh, that's for Cindy.
Yeah, go to Cindy. How do we do the Chairman's presentation? I know it's online, but that's about as much as I know.
So we try to make it as similar as before, except it's online. So you're going to have a panel of judges, 2 or 3 judges that you're presenting to on your online platform. So my advice is to prepare the same way as before. There's a lot of great online resources too. We had a chairman's chat that is recorded and available. You can look at that for tips and tricks. So, and then I know also on the first website, there's some examples of prior chairman submissions. Talk to other chairman's teams. So prepare pretty much the same way you have in the past, except like Alan mentioned, just practice your technology so you don't get caught by that.
Yeah, just building on that, now that it's exactly what Cindy said. It's going to be similar, except instead of 2 or 3 people sitting in a room while you and your team are sitting in there, you're going to be on a Zoom call or WebEx call, just like this. The thing I would caution everyone about, make sure that there's a mentor on the call. That mentor could either be in one of the rooms that's being televised. It could be, the mentor could be calling in separately. If that mentor is not present during the beginning and during the presentation, the judge is going to ask to reschedule that. So please make sure, and if mentors, if you're listening, make sure you have backup for your schedule as well. Make sure you have a backup WebEx as well. If you're a mentor and you're in the call and all of a sudden you lose the connection, that other mentor should be on standby. So, just please be aware of the technology challenges that we're all going to have. The teams will also, on all these calls, by the way, just as a general rule, the judge is going to be lenient. We recognize it takes some time to get connected. So the judges are going to give you about a 1-minute buffer. If your call starts at 6 o'clock, by 6:01, judges are going to get going. If at 6 o'clock comes and the team says, hey, we're all present and accounted for, and judges are all present and accounted for, off they go, and your time will start then. So just, recognize that we're all trying to be flexible, and we recognize things that can come up that you're not expecting, but plan. Make sure on any of these presentations, we'll probably keep repeating this, is that everyone has the materials. And if somebody's connection goes down, that, you guys have practiced that, it automatically is going to transfer to the next student and the next student. So be prepared, judges will be flexible. So that's really just anything else I wanted to add there.
Okay, our next question is a bit of logistics, but it's an easy answer. Hi, for the Chairman's Award, does my team have to notify you, FRC, that we are planning to submit the Chairman's Award before actually submitting this award? And thank you.
Aw, you're welcome. So I think the portal is going to open next week. The mentors can access the information on their dashboard. And I know that's for the at-home challenges as well. And so there'll be information there available for how to submit. And I believe you can go in and start your submission, which is recommended. It opens your portal and gets you going. You don't have to submit everything until the deadline. So check your deadlines and make sure you know those as well, and make sure you know what time zone that's in. So we're encouraging everyone to start, if they think they're going to submit for certain awards or all the awards, to open that portal and start that process, just so you know it works.
Yeah, just build on that. Headquarters is hoping everyone's going to submit. You don't need to send them an email in advance, say, hey, we're about to submit, but we're not going to do anything until next week. No, there's a portal, there's a link. to Cindy's point, you can build on that as you go. Just remember, February 25th by 3 p.m. Eastern time is the deadline to get that submission in. So there's not a lot of time. So be aware of that as your team's meeting, and make sure you don't miss that deadline.
Our next question is similar. You may have covered this. Are all teams automatically signed up for the chairmans? In the past, I think teams normally declared intentions to submit chairmans. Thanks so much.
Yeah, I'll take that, Cindy. No, you need to apply. Headquarters will not know. The judges will not know if you do not apply. If you think you applied and you're waiting for an interview time slot from the judges, and you're waiting and you're waiting, and here it is, October of next year, there's probably a good chance we did not see that you've applied. So no, and you will get confirmation that you've applied for any of these awards, I believe. So just make sure you're in the portal and you're getting those submissions submitted by the deadlines. Right? Submitting a day late is not gonna be very helpful for you or the judges. So please there's been a lot of communication. Blair started the screen, the presentation early with the slide deck. Maybe we can even put that up toward the end of the slide deck, end of this call, just to make sure people are once again, remembering what those dates are.
Hey, Alan, also, I forget what I was going to add. Something really important. Oh, I know. So when the judges, on our end, when the judges are scheduling the interviews, they will work with the mentor for times to schedule those interviews. And so there'll be some positive reinforcement back and forth that you've submitted and that we're scheduling that interview.
Okay, our next question is about the technical awards. Can we have a student in the shop with the actual robot while other students are at home so we can demo stuff?
I would say absolutely. Just there's nothing preventing you from holding a robot in your lap. Don't do that. I probably had that. But no, the interview time is your time. How your team just determines how they want to present and what they want to present is really up to you guys. Just recognize if the one student has the robot in the shop and their internet goes down, no one else is going to see it. So just make sure, once again, we're going to keep repeating, backup. Have pictures. Maybe take a little video clip of what you're intending to show live, and somebody else can have that queued up in case something happens. So just make sure you're really thinking about backup plans, because what you're going to share, you've spent a lot of time preparing. We want to make sure we see it. Let's make sure technology doesn't prevent that from happening. Cindy, anything to add there?
Cool. And also just note that we've set all this up so it can be totally remote. So if your school is not open or meeting, we want to make it as accessible and easy for everyone to apply as possible. So if you don't have access to your robot, just look at the manual and look at the instructions, and it should work out okay too.
Okay, our next question. Are there any animated examples of robots running the at-home skills challenge courses?
Not that I know of. No, I don't think so. I know those little animations that we see every year at kickoff. I missed it this year, but nope, we don't.
Yeah, we just have the game animation for the overall game, but not for the at-home challenges. Although you would be surprised if teams are sort of creating some of that content on their own.
I was just going to say that we have the best and brightest out there, so I can't wait to see what they show us.
Yeah. Okay, our next question about the game design challenge. How much CAD are we allowed to submit for the game design challenge? Should we submit it or just show in the interview?
So in the manual, it gives very precise details on what you can submit. And I was looking to see if I could see that, but basically you can submit whatever you want and you can show whatever you want. It's your time. It's your time to show the judges what you're doing and what you want the judges to know. Let's see.
Well, Cindy's looking that up. What I would add is, this is a great opportunity where you may not have had the opportunity to build your robot from last year. You haven't had the opportunity to build the robot this year, but you have great ideas. Absolutely, share the CAD. Make sure the students can talk through those designs. Remember, this is a two-way street. You show a CAD picture with a bunch of details. Be prepared for judges. We have very technical judges here. They're going to be asking you questions. So as a team, be prepared to be ready to address those. You don't want to put up a CAD picture that somebody put together and then have a judge ask you a question and not be able to support an answer there. So now, once again, that can also be answered by anyone on the call. So, don't worry about the person just doing the physical presenting, but be prepared as a team to be able to address the judges' questions. Cindy, do you find other information there?
Well, I don't see that listed specifically, but you're right. So what we always say when submitting for awards is the judges will pre-look at what you've submitted. So use your time wisely in your interview time. So you're adding details, and then the judges will ask questions on things they need clarified. So understand that you can add detail at that point, and maybe you submit your CAT ahead of time, and they'll look at that. So just share your time on what you want the judges to know.
And speaking of clarification, we have Fiona, the fact checker, behind the scenes working with us here, and she wanted to remind everybody that Chairman's is already open. You don't have to wait for the submission portal to open; it's already open. So our next question is about Chairman's, and this is very subjective, maybe for each of you. What is the most important criteria for Chairman's?
Oh,
It's a big question.
it's a tricky question. I'm looking at Alan and he's looking at me.
No, well, I'm sure we can both take a stab at it, but go ahead, Cindy. I'll let you go first, just out of courtesy.
Yeah, so there's guidelines in the team manual. So look at those. Judging is subjective. We have great judges. They're trained on what to look for, and so there's nothing that rises above anything else. It's all guidelines are equal out there. So just make sure you look in your manual and you're checking off each of the boxes and telling your story about those pieces.
Yeah, and maybe just what I'll add is there's really no official answer, right? It was a fantastic question, very loaded. One of the things that I always like about the judging process is, by definition, it's based on judgment. We don't use rubrics. We are absolutely listening to the students. We're looking at your materials that you're submitting. We're doing interviews. We're asking tough questions. You guys are giving us great answers. So there's so many things that go into the whole process regarding Chairman's, or even any of the awards, really, for that matter. So there's really no, hey, if you check, Cindy said you'll check about, if you check all these 100 boxes, I'm going to win the Chairman's. Guarantee you won't. But there's so much information, and all of those things that you're doing are very, very important. But it's all part of the entire submission and the entire story that the judges are evaluating to pick the most deserving teams.
Okay, our next question, moving on, is about the Autonomous Award. Can you talk about the Autonomous Award and what it is looking for?
Yeah, go ahead, Cindy, if you want.
Okay, so there is an Autonomous Award under Infinite Recharge at Home, and it's much like in previous years. So we're looking at something that performs autonomously, whatever that might be. You must upload a video, though, so the judges can take a look at that video and see what your robot is doing autonomously.
Yeah, just building on that. I mean, this year, the Autonomous Award, I think, as other years, is sponsored by Ford. All the definitions for these awards are in the manual, but since we have a specific question, just remember, the Autonomous Award celebrates the team that has demonstrated consistent, reliable, high-performance robot operation during autonomously managed actions. Evaluation is based on robot's ability to sense its surroundings, position itself, or onboard mechanisms appropriately and execute the task. So I memorized that by heart. No, that's a stretch. But all the criteria for the awards are in the manual, so make sure you're aware of those. But yes, the one I want to highlight that Cindy pointed out is this one. You need to submit a video of your autonomous functions. So be aware of that and when that needs to be submitted.
Okay, we've got a long question here, so listen carefully, team. This question is whether the non-skills awards are dependent on the robot's infinite recharge capabilities. For example, the design award. Would it take into account a really good climber design, even though there's no climbing in the at-home challenge? Basically, should we unbolt the climber and color wheel spinner and set them aside, or should that be part of the submission materials for the design, engineering, etc. awards that are not skills challenge scored?
Yeah, well, I'll start while Cindy's compiling our thoughts. So the goal is that even if you couldn't get into your shop, you can submit for this award and be eligible for awards. Teams should be, able to talk about the various components of, to the judges. Maybe adding to that. So the answer to that question is yes. Components will count for the judged awards. So if you have something that doesn't seem to be, relevant at this point, but you designed it, and you're like, well, we're going to design a new game, and we want to really use this element, absolutely share that with us. There's no reason not to. Cindy, anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, and just like you said, Alan, look in the manual and look at the different criteria for each of the awards, and it'll give you some tips in there about what we're looking for. And it's pretty general, so show off what you got.
Good. Show your stuff. Okay, our next is question is pretty general. How do the judges want deliverables, photos, additional materials to be given to them? Links in the chat or something different?
So we're not going to click on links. So we'll just review the material that's submitted in your portal submission. So follow those rules and check in your manual to see exactly what you need to submit and what you can submit. And then during the presentation, we'll obviously look at things you're sharing on your screen, PowerPoints, but we are not clicking on links.
Okay. Our next question is, why is the Chairman's Award considered the most prestigious award in FIRST? So why is the Chairman's Award considered the most prestigious award in FIRST? A little history question, maybe.
Yeah.
I love this question. Go ahead, Cindy, then I'll go after you. All right,
So,
I can go first.
So Chairman's is, if you look at the criteria, in our mind, it's the most prestigious because it's the most encompassing. It not only touches on the core values of FIRST, it touches on how your team is spreading the message of FIRST, how you're infecting your school, your community, your other teammates. So it's not about a robot, it's about the whole philosophy and premise of FIRST.
Yeah, and we probably each have a different lens on this. From my lens, to me, the Chairman's Award takes into account many of the core values of FIRST, right? It takes into account the community outreach. How did you inspire, how did the team inspire others? How did you interface with the organizations that may even be sponsoring you? From my lens, I think in general, this is the top award given to a team. This is the top team award. But remember, the judges will not get to hear any of that valuable information. And I'll say it once again, and we'll put a slide up at the beginning, we'll put it at the end. Need to submit by the February 25th. What time? 3 p.m. Eastern time in order for the judges to hear that story. But in general, it's the top award that's given to teams. So that's how I would summarize that.
Okay, great. Our next question about game design. The game design challenge. How specific and technical should we be about the game rules in our game design submission and presentation? How specific and technical should we be about our game rules in the game design submission and presentation?
So there's some specific things you have to meet for game design, and those are spelled out in the manual. So you check it out and meet those. Look in there because that's what the judges are going to be looking for as well. And then also it spells out the awards that we're looking for and the criteria for that. So you can, you don't have to have a fully complete game manual. You just describe your concept. And like I said, look at what's required in there.
Yeah,
Alan?
And just maybe to Cindy's last point, look at it from the other lens, right? For years, you have all been reading the game manual and deciphering it and trying to figure out what you can and what you can't do, right? And there's lots of details in there. All right, so now you're on the other side. You're writing that manual. You're having judges, think of the judges as you now. We're reading your submission and we're trying to figure out, how you envision doing this new game. And if you say, we designed a game, it's gonna have 3 robots, we're gonna have a ball. Well, oh, that's really cool, but I don't really know anything. I'm reading lots of submissions and lots of details. So, I think to Cindy's point is, we're not looking for a 100-page manual. You might ready to get a very concise game design spelled out and explained in a one-page flyer. But I think the important thing is to really get across to the judges on a super high level what is super exciting about this game that you would want to play when headquarters reads and say, that is a fantastic game. They've spelled out how we envision this is going to happen. But I don't think it needs to say what size, hardware you can put to hold your shooter on. But I think, it should be enough that if you were on the other side, that you could actually, yeah, I understand this game. I understand what people are, what people are talking about. That would probably be my input there.
And I think, to me, this is a pretty exciting challenge that you get to apply for. So I'm sure all of you in the past have thought, oh, that's a fun game, but I can do it one better. Now's your chance to do it. It'd be pretty exciting to see your game or parts of your game played down the line.
Yeah.
You can announce it.
I know. We're pretty excited by that challenge.
And I think we're both saying is, don't write an entire manual. That's not reasonable. But make sure you can get your message across.
Let's stay on the game design challenge for a minute. Are CAD or drawn images better for the game design challenge? CAD or drawn images better for the game design challenge submission?
So, you want to go, Alan?
Sure. I want images. I want to know. I want to envision what you're talking about. Either one of them's okay. There may be teams that don't have capability of doing CAD images, but you can make really detailed drawings or even stick figure drawings. Some teams may put the whole system in CAD. Some teams may put the whole system in handwritten drawings. Either one of them is completely fine. Whatever you can do to get the message across with the capabilities your team has to share with the judges is absolutely acceptable. Cindy?
I agree 100%. We're trying to make it as flexible and easy on everybody this year.
Okay, and you probably saw in the game design show, we had a mechanical engineer who was also an artist, Jasmine, on staff, and her drawings outdid CAD. Like, they were just so beautiful, and they gave the theme and the feel of the game better than than a CAD drawing did. So yeah, I think the sky's the limit. Our next feedback. What are the traditionally submitted awards? Is the next question.
What are they? Was that the question?
Yes. What are the traditionally submitted awards?
That's easy. I can do that one, Ellen. So it's Dean's List, Chairman's, and Woody Flowers, just like we've done in the past. And we're encouraging everyone to submit for them. Please, please, please.
Okay, great. So our next question is a long one. We have a member on our presentation team for awards who has a speech issue. I love that it doesn't hold them back and encourage them to keep presenting, but how do we help the judges be understanding with this issue? In First Lego League, one of the judges told their team that they should have gotten someone else to present, and our team member is worried it will affect our team as well. I've been a judge and I understand it's harder to be patient and listen, but at the same time, it's not their fault and they have a lot to contribute. The team member is completely understandable. It just takes them longer to speak. Any advice to this team member?
Yeah, I would absolutely chime in here. The judges will absolutely take the time to hear the story. We all know there's a time allotment. And I believe yesterday, and we were talking earlier in this WebEx, that the communication went out about what platforms and things that we're going to use, and that there's going to be a little bit extra time for translation needed when doing Chairman's Award and some others. So read that criteria. I think that last one out yesterday. I would absolutely encourage that student that's being described here to do the presentation. Judges will be patient. We want to hear the story. We want to, that student has as much right to speak as anyone else on that call. And, I don't think we can say that there's going to be extra time added, but I would probably encourage, just letting the judges know in advance somehow, maybe when they're applying, maybe Fiona at HQ can give some guidance there, but the judges want to hear the story, and we want to hear from that student if that's who the team decides to present. So yeah, I think we're very passionate about making sure that everyone has the opportunity to succeed during that interview. Cindy?
We absolutely train our judges. We're helping them to just understand that there's differences on team members and teams, and to appreciate that. And I think that I am pretty sure the judges will be noticing the passion and commitment that the team is giving to that team member, and that that team member is also giving. I think it's great.
Yeah, good, great answers.
Be sensitive to the time lot, right? I mean, I think that's the only thing we can say there.
Right. Our next question is general question. When you sign up for the judging awards, do you also need to submit all your information in video, or can that information be updated later?
I'm going to go back to look at your manual. It gives very specific things that you have to submit for each award and how to submit it. And then you can add to that, like I said, in your presentation. So use that time accordingly. Just make sure you get it in by the dates, because if you miss the deadline, then the judges won't be able to look at your submissions.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, our next question is about the Dean's List. Can students bring extra materials to present to judges during their interview?
No, no, they can't. As we're all learning the process. No, the judges are going to read the submission that was sent on behalf of the mentors or the peers. And no, we're not, it's not intended. We want to hear, part of the Dean's List story is we want to have that interaction with the student. The judges want to talk to the student. The student, once again, we said earlier, should be very aware of what was submitted on their behalf, right? Judges already have that information. They're going to compile some questions onto that. So don't be prepared to go tell them the same thing that they've already read, but be prepared to expound upon what has been presented on your behalf. Answer the questions for the judges, but make sure you're ready to tell the judges, by the way, did you know, I know it wasn't in my submission, but I really wanted to share with you something. Remember, this is a good time to use I did this on my team, or I did this in the community, and make sure that, spending time watching a video presentation, look at me, I went and visited the president. Okay, that's great. But they want to talk to you. Because remember, one of the things with the Dean's List winner is the Dean's List winners, they are the face of first going out after this program. So the judges are, some of the things that they're evaluating is that the person that's going to best represent first when they're outside of this program. One way to know that is to actually have that face-to-face interaction with the judges. And I'm sure Cindy's got some things to add there as well.
Well, it's emulating an interview as well. So you're being interviewed by two great judges. So practice ahead of time. Practice talking about yourself and being interviewed.
Great. Okay, our next question is about Infinite Recharge at Home. Is there a limit to the number of students that can be on the Infinite Recharge at Home presentation to the judges?
No, you can have as many as you want. Just recognize that you still have, it's a 12-minute interview, 7 minutes for your side and 5 minutes for the Q&A. So you can have 100 people there if you think that's going to be the most effective way to present. But you might want to have your best speakers and your best presenters to make sure all that information is being disseminated properly. Cindy?
Yeah, and we're recommending maybe 5 just for that reason. And then the other point I want to add is, so if you have 5 students presenting, make sure they're all aware of everything your team's done and what you're presenting to the judges, because the judges can ask questions and they can ask anyone in that panel as well. So just be prepared, practice.
Yeah, and I think the recommendation of 5 is really, just like we're having a WebEx where you see 3 people. All of a sudden you have 100 people from your team log in, and you get the 3 judges, and they're in these little windows up here, and you get the other 100 of you. It's going to be really hard to find out from the judge who's talking, and it's probably not the best efficiency to get your message out.
Right. Okay, now we have a question about the Game Design Challenge. Can we make a 3D printed model of our field for the Game Design Challenge?
Yes,
That'd
please.
be cool.
This interview is your time to get that message across. So if you have a student or you have a CAD and you're showing how the robots might move, and you might show how elements move, absolutely. Remember, you are competing against other people that are designing games as well. You might have that little extra nugget that really had a great demonstration of, a lot of people can just read and understand. A lot of people are visual, so recognize that on both sides. Some people can read a story and understand exactly what's going on. Some people want to watch the movie, full confession. So, the more you have to share with the judges to let them know what your intent and what your design challenge concept is, I think it's fair game. Cindy?
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's your time, so I still think it'd be cool.
Yeah, it would be very cool. Look forward to it. Our next question is about some awards. How do we submit our team for Excellence in Engineering Award, Imagery Award that do not have a specific deadline or submission portal?
So you submit those, well, you submit for those in your portal, and there's specific portals for, like, for example, game design with the criteria that you have to submit for, and then the judges are going to be interviewing your team for the various awards. So it's just like an in-person interview by judges in your pit. You can talk details about a specific award if you want, or you can just answer questions in general. The judges will be looking for all those awards that fall under that category.
Okay, sort of covered this already. If you could give one piece of advice to a student nominated for Dean's List, what would you say?
I think Alan hit on it. Know what's in your submission, what your mentor wrote about you, because you don't want to repeat it in your interview. Your interview is your time to add details and specifics. And the judges, you're not given a presentation like chairman, so the judges will be asking you questions. So to me, those are some of the funnest interviews that a judge gets to do. You get to meet personally kids that are absolutely amazing. They always give me goosebumps.
I don't know what that was, but we'll just keep talking over it.
I think it's a fact checker.
Fact checker, yeah. Can we have live pictures of our robot during the Infinite Recharge interview?
Yep, you can have live pictures. Again, if you have access to your robot, we're making it easy and flexible. So if you don't have access to your robot, that's fine too.
Okay, our next one is about the Dean's List. Can the Dean's List candidates see the submitted essays on them?
I don't believe they can see them, but there's certainly no secret.
Yes.
But yes, I think they can.
Look at your fact checker, Ellen.
Yes, they can. I just want to make sure we were all in sync about that. Also, what I was going to say is I'm hoping that the Dean's List absolutely has seen that essay because the mentor has said, by the way, I submitted this and here's a copy of it. But I guess there's also a technical way, and maybe Cindy can talk about that.
You get a copy of the essay and you should read it, certainly. And I hope there's enough awareness that your mentor maybe is saying, I'm going to submit you for this, and you understand the process. We want to make it as easy and stress-free as possible.
Okay. Next question is about the Woody Flowers Award. Who decides the Woody Flowers Finalist Award?
Not us.
Yeah, not.
It's a group, I think it's previous Woody Flowers winners. So that's really cool. And they go off and do their thing. The judges don't do the Woody Flowers Award.
Yeah. Okay, next one is, why isn't there a Chairman's Award rubric?
Well, I'll take a stab at that. We talked about it earlier. There is so much that goes into the chairman's submission. I would encourage teams that are maybe doing this for the first time. I think Blair talked about it in the presentation slide deck a few weeks ago. And look at the Hall of Fame teams post a lot of stuff. There is so much criteria that goes into judgment into your chairman's submission, and they're all different. Like, you all have different stories. You all have different ways that your team has got to where it is now. You have all done different things to impact your community and impact each other. A rubric, and we know they're used in other programs, but we feel at this point it's not the appropriate tool for us and the judges to evaluate the type of work that teams have done, because eventually they're going to get the copy of the rubric. We've done all these 10 things, so I'm going to win this year, and you're going to show up, and we're going to have 100 teams that actually checked off all same boxes, and we still have to pick one. So it's really not a great metrics for us to evaluate the impact of your team in, I'll say, the world. A lot of you are competing on things that impact the world. Cindy, anything to add to that?
Sure, and at this point, you can have 100 people on your team or 5 people on your team. You can impact in small ways or large ways. So it's very subjective. We do a lot of training with our judges just to figure out how to get through the guidelines and criteria and make their decisions.
Okay.
I just wanted to, Blair, real quick, I just want to do one quick go back on the Woody Flowers nomination as well. And the Woody Flowers winners are actually nominated, and those are nominated and won by prior Woody Flowers winners. So they're evaluating. So we're not reading those submissions on behalf of Woody Flowers, just so we're clear to everybody. Those submissions are read by prior Woody Flowers winners to help decide the winner. So I just want to clarify that.
Great. Quick question. Dean's List is 10th and 11th grade only?
Yes.
Yes.
And I hesitate because some schools have different kinds of ways that they describe students. So it's all in the manual. I think we tried to make that very specific.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the way I look at that, Blair, from my lens is, because to Cindy's point, sometimes it's the 13th grade, right? So the last year of your school, you're not eligible for. It's the 2 years prior. It's sort of the way headquarters and Fiona has pounded that into my brain. So that's the way I look at it. So just keep that in mind. Generally, that doesn't happen. In the United States, I think, yeah, it's not your senior, it's your sophomore and junior years. But in other countries, it could be a little different because of how your grading and grading system goes. But the last year, you're not eligible. And just real quick, the reason for that is we want that information available to you as you're putting it in on your application for college. So if you win it in your senior year and you've already applied to colleges, and you don't have the benefit of putting that very significant accolade on your resume, that's unfortunate, which is really one of the reasons why we back that up at least a minimum of a year.
Right.
Makes sense. Okay, is there a general question here? Is there a calendar with all the due dates of submissions on it?
Yep, I think you shared it in the beginning, and I'm hoping we'll tee it up here at the end.
Yeah,
And it's on the website.
It's on the website on the firstinspires.org, Robotics FRC calendar. So there is a calendar. You can find it online.
And you can always send a question into First if you're confused. We're here to help.
Is the next question about the Dean's List? Is the Dean's List essay supposed to be written by the team or the mentors?
I believe it's the mentor, but I want to suspect that they're getting input from all the team members, but I know it's submitted and written by the mentors. Cindy, you agree?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, and sometimes, teams will all, if you have a large team, they may decide there's input from the team, or it just varies. Just make sure you follow the rules and get your step in on time.
Yeah, one additional thing there. I know we have a lot of teams where there's parents as mentors on your team. This is the one award that we're going to ask if you have a son or daughter on that team and you're the mentor, that you do not submit on behalf of your sibling or your child. So in that case, you can certainly have another healthy conversation with the other mentor. Say, look, I really think my daughter really deserves this, but I can't write that submission. Is this something you would agree to? Do we agree that that person's qualified? And have that other mentor submit on behalf of your child. That should not come from you. So hopefully that's clear to all the mentors out there.
Okay, our next question is about qualifying for the championship. Will the 2020 Chairman's Award winners qualify to the 2021 First Championships?
Cindy, you want to take that?
Yeah, so I think there was some team information a little while back about that, Blair, and what was released was that 2020 Chairman's winners are not qualified for 2021 championship. It's a different year for all of us, and that was the ruling.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got just a few minutes left here, but our next question is about the chain. So how much weight will the judges be giving the game design challenge chain?
Yeah, I'll take a stab at that first. So as far as the game design challenge, the chain is really only going to be affected as part of the concept award. So you can apply to any of those awards within the game design challenge. But if you're going to be interviewing and talking about the concept award with the judges, and you start to explain all these wonderful things, which celebrates a team interesting and realistic game concept, the first thing the judges are going to say is, hey, where's your element? And you go, I didn't use it on this game design challenge. You can use it in all those other criteria, but specifically, if you're going for the concept award, be prepared to let the judges know, hey, oh, by the way, we use this element, and you don't have to tell them for the game design concept award because the judges know you use that and you're going for the concept award. So yeah, apply for all those awards, but make sure you're using that element when you're specifically talking about concept award. Cindy, add to that?
Nope, perfect, right on.
Okay, our next question is about the first innovation challenge. Will first robotics competition teams be judged against first tech challenge teams or first Lego League teams during any of the levels of judging? Semi-finalists, finalists, Global Innovation Awards.
No, so FRC is its own unique set of judging and awards, and FRC is judged against FRC. We're working with FTC to make the process similar, but we're judged separately.
Okay. Let's see. Some chairman's essay ones here that you've already covered. Here's a question about this year. What do you think teams need to do to adapt to virtual presentations?
Practice. We did a little bit of that at the end of last season, and we know it works. It works fine, and it actually, as much as I miss interviewing students in the pits and talking to them in person, it's kind of fun to see the teams and they're doing great things out there. Then just maybe look for some best practices about interviewing online and the online submission. But Alan touched on just making sure everyone has whatever you're presenting, everyone's prepared. Just if there's going to be a glitch that happens, assume it will. But we're going to be very flexible with you as well.
Yeah, and just remember all the online submission stuff that you're putting through, this is important to remember, and Cindy touched on it a little earlier, is the judges have read that material, right? So if you're going to use your presentation time to rehash what they have, it's a disservice to you. Judges want to hear, they will ask you questions about what you submitted, so be prepared for that, of course. But this is really your opportunity to not only have the judges read what you have, but to use that 12 minutes to your advantage to give them new information, things that maybe you couldn't fit in your submission because of word count or whatever it might be. So just always keep that in mind. Judges want to hear new stuff.
Okay, we've gone a little bit over, so we're going to start wrapping up here, but we're going to end with one final question for each of you. If there's one piece of advice that you would give to the teams regarding the awards, what would it be? Alan, why don't you take this one first? So what piece of advice would you give to the teams?
I'll take it. Hey, listen, this year is different from all of us. We're all learning every day. We're constantly, there's a lot of communication coming up from headquarters, and I will promise you, they have absolutely been working extremely hard over the last year to figure out how to even put together what you all right now have the opportunity to do. So my message to everyone would be absolutely have fun. Yeah, we're not going to be together. We all want to be together. We want to see each other's robots. We don't have that luxury. But what we do have a luxury of is still continuing on the program under these extraordinary times. We will get back to the way it was. But this year, apply, think of ways to, get your team involved with all the awards. Small teams, maybe you can't do it all, but, pick ones that you're really passionate about. Absolutely make sure you can get in front of the judges and tell their stories. There's a slew of judges out there just, wanting, and it's interesting. We have judges that aren't just judges this year. We have judges that were referees judging for us this year. Referees that were inspectors or judges that are inspected because those roles aren't happening. So make them all part of the process as well. And we want to hear your stories. Absolutely apply. And that would really be my advice this year. And have fun, right? This is challenging enough. This is one element that, this is one lens that you can look at to be able to, to do something different. And I would say a lot of this brings everyone to a level playing field. A powerhouse team, and we know who they are, doesn't have much of advantage over a little team that's working on the same submissions that you might be working on. So just be aware of that. Cindy?
Sure. My advice is similar: practice and relax and make it fun for you. The more practice you do, the more relaxed you're going to be in front of the judges. They just want to hear your story. They're They're not there to try to scare you or anything or trick you. They're wanting you to succeed, and they're going to ask questions accordingly. So just make sure you all know what's going on, you practice, and you relax and have fun.
Well, thanks to you both, and a quick plug to make your job maybe a little bit easier is we have such a need for judges this year because of all of these submitted awards. So if you have a volunteer in your life who maybe was a referee or field reset, we are now accepting people that would love you to just sign into the volunteer portal and sign up to be a judge. You do have to be 23 years of age, but we need judges this year because we're hoping we'll be flooded with award submissions, trying to make Cindy and Alan's job even more difficult. If we didn't get to your question today, you can still ask that in the official team Q&A, and we will answer them there. But we did run through a whole lot of questions, which was great. I know I learned something. Let's show the submission deadline screen one more, because that was a question that folks had. So take a peek at that.
It's not up yet.
It was up and then off. There it is.
And just real quick, while everyone's taking a picture of that with their phone, just really, I believe, on behalf of Cindy and I, we want to thank Blair and Fiona behind the scenes for absolutely making this show happen. We're hopeful it was helpful for everybody. And just, Blair, thank you for your guidance on all this, and Fiona for your time behind the scenes. So thank you.
Yeah, and I haven't seen Blair sign up yet to judge, so waiting for it.
I know, I'm kind of last minute. I've been busy. It's been a busy couple of months already. A big thanks to our esteemed judges, Cindy and Alan. I'm sure you felt that they want you to succeed, and they really care a lot about FIRST and this and a fair judging process. So I want to thank them for all they do for FIRST. Thank you for all your volunteering efforts, Cindy and Alan.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Pleasure.
Alan.
In my fake background.
That's his real background. All right, thanks again. Remember, you can still ask questions in the Teams Q&A, and we'll answer them there. But good luck this season. Submit for those awards. If you have any further questions, send them in. Have a great season, everybody. Be FIRST. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.